Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we are going to continue a series I started a few weeks ago. This is where I am making my dream 10th edition codex. I'm not straying too far from what is written in the 10th edition codex, but there are some things I don't like and a lot of minor tweaks I personally would make to the codex if I had full design control. So if you haven't seen part 1, before I dive in, watch part 1 here. I cover the detachment rules, the army rules, and my thoughts and reasonings behind that. Today, I think we're going to do this all in one video. We're going to cover the changes to the units themselves, the data sheet changes, rule changes, things like that. So if that sounds good, do like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our content here at Maelstrom Game Studios. We cover a ton of Tyranid specific stuff, battle reports featuring the Tyranids and other armies, of course. And yeah, we just have a great time here on the channel. So before, we do have to thank all of our members. Thank you guys, of course, for allowing us to do what we do. And now, let's dive into today's video. So like I said, this is going to be a continuation. We've talked about the data sheets. We've talked about the We've talked about the detachments and the changes to the army rules. So if you need a quick refresher, you can go back and watch that. And then we're going to have these unit changes going on right here. Now, something to consider is that points are probably going to have to be adjusted for some of these things. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. You'll see the rules I give them or the rules I tweak will cause some points either to go down or up. They're just... I think it would be better if they're taken this way. So let's start with the characters right off the bat. We have the winged and foot Hive Tyrant. Now, not a ton of changes here, but some important ones. So first off, we're going to go with the wound count of these guys. We're going to bump it back up to 12 wounds because I think that's where they should be. 10 just is a little too squishy. The big thing is here on the weapon profile changes. So the heavy venom cannon, this is going to be changed for the Hive Tyrant and Tyrannofexes. The Harpy, if you see a heavy venom cannon or a Stranglethorn cannon, these changes will apply. So heavy venom cannon will be 2 shots, not D3, and will gain anti-vehicle 4+. Still remain its strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage, but anti-vehicle 4+ will make it a little bit more reliable to the tanks and punch like it's supposed to. For the Stranglethorn cannon, we're going to keep its strength and everything and its stats the same. However, it's going to gain the disruption bombardment ability from the Barb Gaunts. If you guys played Dawn of War 2 or read the lore or anything, I'm a visual guy, so that's why I thought Dawn of War 2, the Stranglethorn cannon was notorious for slowing down your enemy, and that's really, and in the lore, that's what it does. So it should have the ability that the Barb Gaunts do, so I gave it to it. The Lash Whip and Bone Sword, they're going to get bumped up to strength 10. I think that way it can at least compete with vehicles. Yes, it's still going to struggle at the toughest of vehicles, but the twin linked will still help it there. And finally, for the Flyrant specifically, the Tyrant Talons are going to have the extra attacks ability, and then if you take Scything Talons on the Flyrant, it will lose the extra attacks ability. That way you can swing with, 10, 12, whatever, Scything Talon attacks on a Flyrant that way if you want to go that route. So, just a bit of a change there. And really, I think they all make perfect sense. The Wing Prime is going to gain a 3-up save. Simple as that, I feel like it should. It's decently armored looking warriors in general probably should have a 3-up armor save. They are tough. And their 4-up armor save just isn't cutting it for them right now. So I think a 3-up would be awesome to see. Will that involve some point changes? Maybe. I haven't play tested this stuff, so I don't know for sure, but that's what we got. The Neuro Tyrant, this one's also seeing some big changes. So Psychic Scream is going to go up to strength 6 because I did remove the power of the Hive Mind ability. So it's going to still have that. And the Claws and Lashes are going to gain AP -1 just to give it a little bit of piercing. That's not crazy. What we are going to do though is allow it to lead Zoanthropes. I think the Zoanthropes are, really missing having a leader like they kind of did with the Neurothrope in the past. I think having a Neuro Tyrant lead them would be huge because now you would have that +1 to hit, and if the enemy target is battle shocked, +1 wound. That would make zone throws very terrifying, hitting on 2s when they're led by a Neuro Tyrant. Not only that, the Neuro Tyrant has a scary flamer as well. Finally, for the Neuro Tyrant, we will remove its Psychic Terror ability. Again, because of the changes I made to Shadow in the Warp and Battle Shock and all of that, for the Tyranids, I think the Psychic Terror ability would be way too much in terms of just shutting down your opponent for one full turn, which is not what we want. Still want to give your opponent a chance with it. So we're just going to remove that ability. I think it being able to join the zone throws, as well as still being able to join the Tyrant Guard and stuff, is a good change for it. For the rest of the characters, we have the Broodlord. I like the Broodlord the way it is. Simply enough, I think it should be given the Synapse keyword back. Oh, and of course, I think it should go back to Strength 6. Then to Swarmlord, so it's going to go up to 13 wounds because it should be one more than a Hive Tyrant maybe. Synaptic Pulse is going to gain the Ignore Cover ability because of course it should. Bone Sabers will go up to Strength 10 to be in line with the Lashwick Bone Sword. And the Domination of the Hive Mind is going to change to a 12-inch range instead of the 9-inch range that it is already. That'll all just couple with the way I changed Synapse and leadership and stuff for the Tyranids. So yeah, I like the Swarmlord that way. Old One Eye, I think he's great the way he is. I wouldn't change anything about him really. Maybe you could argue you could hit on 2s again, but he still is a Tyrannofex, so I'm happy with him. Parasited Mortrex should have the Harvester keyword. Of course, it's spawning Reaper Swarms, it's infecting, it's harvesting. It should have the Harvester keyword if nothing else. Death Leaper, I like Death Leaper's profile, though I do want to change its Fear of the Unseen. It's an okay rule as it is, but what I would like to change it to something is more of a thematic callback to its early editions, like 5th edition. And this would be, change the rule to be, if this model makes a charge roll, the following fight phase, you can reroll hit and wound rolls against enemy character units. It had an old rule back in 5th edition where I believe it selected a character at the start of the game, and then it got reroll hits and wounds against that at all times. That's a bit too situational. We already have the Norns for something like that. So I just think it's a good assassin beast, surprises characters, hits and wounds against them. It's not going to be game-changing, but allow him to really deliver a punch onto key targets like he should as a Death Leaper. And Turbogon, pretty simple changes for her as well. Strength 10 on the strike, just make it so it can actually strike and hurt a vehicle. And then the 5-up Invone, I think it should have a Synaptic Barrier or a Psychic Barrier. It is a Psychic Beast. Most Psychic Beasts, actually all of them except for the Turbogon, have an Invone, so give her a 5-up Invone. Nothing fancy, but something to help protect her just a little bit. So that is all the characters. Now we'll go into the unit changes. And we are pretty much just going through the Codex, so I know our Codex sucks in the way it's laid out, so you could try and follow along, but otherwise just follow along in here, and hopefully you like what we see in these ones. First off, the Norn Emissary and the Norn Assimilator. Not too many changes, but some important ones. The monsters, Scything Talons, those big talons that they both wield, Strength 12 on them. It just needs to be done. And then the Emissary's Rending Claws are also going to gain Devastating Wounds because it's a Rending Claw. It should have some ability like that. The Assimilator already has its Punchy Bag, a special ability, so let's just bump it up to bump the Rending Claws to be something potential. Now, point changes like this, I anticipate that the Norn Emissary will have to go up a bunch in points. The Assimilator probably will still stay where it is. It's not, I thought about giving it an Invone save, but with my changes to Assimilation Swarm, giving it the Harvester keyword, which I should technically have put here, it gains the Harvester keyword. Maybe it's too powerful to go any stronger with it, but I would rather have the Assimilator be a less durable, just more brute force bull, essentially, that it is, and then have the Emissary be something that's a bit bigger, more threatening, scary on the battlefield. So that's how I did that one. Neurolictor, I think it should gain the character keyword. This might be probably one of the more controversial things, but it really should have the character keyword. It kind of works like that. So I'm doing that. Maybe you could argue it could have Synapse as well, but I didn't do that. The Gaunts, Gargoyles, Hormagaunts, Termagants, I'm happy with them. I'm happy with them the way they are. I like all their abilities. I think they have a niche in a lot of places. for list building, and I'm okay with that. Ranged and melee warriors. They're going to also gain a 3-up armor save. We're going to try to make them a bit more bulky and do some good damage. Maybe their points have to go up, who knows. Ranged warriors, they're going to also get another change. They're going to swap weapon skill and ballistic skill. So we're going to make their ballistic skill 3-up because they are bioengineered for shooting. And then we're going to change their weapon skill to 4 because that's not their main purpose. They are ranged warriors, not melee warriors. So I think that change makes sense. Gene Stealers, I'm going to give them strength 5. They need it. They are in Space Hulk. They are designed to fight Terminators. Terminators are at T5 now, and they just struggle against those things these days. So do that, and then I'm going to change Vanguard Predator to be, if they make a charge roll, reroll hit rolls of 1. Very simple. I do not want to have the reroll wounds or anything like that be a bonus, because I think at strength 5 with the full rerolls and the potential for devastating wounds with the Broodlord, that might be too powerful for what we want out of Gene Stealers. But really just strength 5 would make them be so much better into a wider variety of targets. That's where we're going there. Unit changes, more of them. Neurogons, 1 small change. I think the Neuro Beast should have 2 wounds. It should. I think it should. It should be like a knob. It's bigger than all of them. Give it 2 wounds. Just let it be a little special thing. The Raveners, like I said earlier, gain Vanguard Invader keyword because they should. Barb Guns, I'm happy. I like them. You could argue to totally rewrite them, make them indirect like GW kind of made them look like they should be. I don't want to deal with that. I'm happy with the way they are. The Biovore, big changes here. So the Spore Mine Launcher is going to be Ballistic Skill 3+. You can spawn 1 Spore Mine per Biovore in the unit, and the Spore Mines will no longer do actions. So I'm trying to make them more, there'll be less points because the Spore Mines won't do actions, but I'm trying to make it so you actually want to shoot with them as indirect weapons, and then you can spawn a unit of Spore Mines if you want with the unit, instead of the change they have it now is 1 unit can spawn a Spore Mine for your whole army. So if you have 9 Biovores, just 1 unit of 3 can spawn. All of them could spawn it if you want. I just want them to be able to do a little bit more damage, actually, and not just because they're spawning Spore Mines. So hopefully that made sense. The Pyrovore, I love them. Perfect. No changes. Tyrannofex, we are going to change the weapon skill and ballistic skill across the board pretty much to 3+. However, I'm going to keep the Crushing Claws at 4+ because it just kind of makes sense. They're a bit more like power fists on monsters. So weapon skill 4+ for those. And again, remember my changes to the Heavy Venom Cannon and the Stranglethorn Cannon I did on the Hive Tyrants. Those will also apply to the Carnifexes. For some more changes, we have the Exocrine. Again, I think the Exocrine's perfect. I would argue maybe it should be at T11 because that makes sense. But right now I'm leaving it as is. The Harpy, see the same changes, like I said, for the Twin Link, Stranglethorn, and Heavy Venom Cannons. They just apply those abilities on top of it. Hive Crone, I think the Hive Crone actually as a data sheet is good. It just is way too expensive for what it does. So it just needs to drop the points a ton, and you see Hive Crones, in my opinion. The Harsphex, Shoveling Claws need to be AP3. There's no reason you have these big, massive Crushing Claws, essentially, and they're only AP2. They need to be AP3. The Hive Guard, changes here. These are some big changes. Hive Guard are one of my favorite units for a long time. We're going to change the Impaler Cannons to 24-inch range, Strength 6, and we're going to give them the Ignores Cover ability. Yes, that gets dicey because the whole indirect grants cover, but at Strength 6, they're still going to have a little bit of AP that you're not going to get the cover. I think it's going to make them more effective, and they're going to actually maybe do some chip damage like they're supposed to be doing. For the Shock Cannons, they're going to gain Anti-Vehicle 3+, and AP, so it was 2+. Now we're going to go to 3+, but we're going to make it AP -2 to actually, once you hit a vehicle, to, I don't know, do some damage because it has AP on it. So that's my change. I toyed with giving the Shock Cannons Dev Wounds as well. I feel like if I did that, I'd have to tone the anti-vehicle 3+ to like a 5+ or a 6+, or I don't know. I just don't want the shot cannons to be so powerful that they can look at a vehicle and just melt it with dev wounds. I don't want that. But you could argue there's a couple ways to change shot cannons. This is just the one I went with. And then for the Lictor, the Maliceptor, and the Muclid, I like them. I'm happy with the way they are. They make good sense to me. I mean, the Muclid is just kind of a whatever unit. Spawn them, don't buy them, but I'm happy with them. So a few more changes. I think we got 2 pages left, 3 pages left. It's a big codex. The Mawloc. So Mawloc is seeing some big changes. Its Terror of the Deep is going to revert back to what it used to be. It's going to kind of swap rules with the Trigon. So it can deep strike 3 inches away, no charging, of course. And then its distance on its ability. So instead of a 12-inch bubble, it's a 6-inch bubble. But again, you can spawn your deep strike 3 inches away from it. So it should allow you to nestle something in there, cause a whole bunch of battle shocks, yeah, kind of do what that is. And then the take a battle shock on a 2+, I'm going to call it. Maybe that's too strong, but I'm okay with it. We'll call it a 2+. The enemy unit takes battle shock. Psychophage. Some important changes here. His flamer, the Psychostatic Torrent, or Psychoclastic Torrent, D6+1, just get that one extra shot in there. And the melee weapons are going to change to 2d3+1 attacks, not this d6+1, 2d3. So you got a minimum of 3, maximum of 7. Just a little bit more consistency in there. Again, like I said, the Hive Crone, keep it the same. The Ripper Swarms, just cheaper. Ripper Swarms, I'm going to go back. Again, old rules. We're going to allow for this thing to be in units of 1 to 9 because big swarms of 9 Rippers are cool. Though there will be some point scaling because you don't want people to be throwing 27 Rippers on the board and then 27 times 4, what are you at? 80 plus over 100 wounds, like 108 wounds or something, for a very cheap amount of points. We don't want that. But we still want to see mass Rippers on the table because that's fun. The Screamer Killer, fine as is. I can't complain with it really. Maybe some point changes, but datasheet wise, fine. Spore Mines, because they're smaller, and we're going to be seeing them based on this spawn in larger blocks of 3 potentially, I'm going to change their Biomine field to 3 inches instead of 6 inches because I think seeing a ton of Spore Mines on the table with a 6-inch bubble is a bit oppressive, so 3-inch change there. And the Spore Assist for its Hive Defense, we're going to also add a little caveat that when it overwatches on 5+ instead of the normal 6+. For some big chunky units here, we have the Toxicrin. We're going to change its ranged attack. Instead of 2d6, it'll be d6+6 attacks. And we're going to add some stipulation, I don't know. Just ignore the tentacles for purpose of line of sight with the model. Those tentacles are just too big. They take up too much space, and it makes the model unplayable. And that's pretty much what I got for it. The Trigon, going to change its melee to strength 10, so it can punch a little bit up. Its Subterranean Tunnels ability is going to be 1 infantry unit from Strategic Reserve can arrive with the Trigon. Once deep strikes, it must be set up within 3 inches of the Trigon, kind of like a transport. And then we're going to get rid of that 3-inch deep strike, and it'll just be a normal 9-inch deep strike. The unit that pops up obviously also has to be 9 inches away, so it turns that Trigon into a slightly better melee threat, but also a delivery unit for, say, Hormagaunts, Warriors, Gargoyles, whatever the case is. The Tyrannocyte is going to stay the same, but one small tweak, and that is units of infantry units have 1 wound, can hold or count as 1. Infantry with 2 wounds count as 2 models, and infantry units of 3 or more count as 3 models. The only thing that does is make it so Barbgaunts and Gene Stealers can go inside of them more efficiently. You can actually fit a 10-man squad in there, so that's what we're going to do. I don't know. It is that. I think it makes sense. I think it's probably an oversight on their part, but whatever. We have it that way. And then we have the Tyrannofex. Everyone's favorite big gun. It's going to see a lot of nice changes here. Probably have to go up in points, but the Acid Spray gaining ignore cover. The Rupture Cannon is going to go to 4d3 damage, much less Casino Cannon, much more consistent, a good average of 8 damage per shot with less swings than an average of 7 with big swings. Its powerful limbs, it's going to gain AP1. I mean, look at the limbs on that thing. That thing hits you hard, it'll pierce armor. So gain AP1 at least. Resilient Organism, get rid of this garbage rule GW gave it. Give us back reduced damage by 1. Redemptor Dreadnoughts still have it. There's no reason these big monsters can't have it. Yes, will they have to go up in points? Of course. Of course they'll have to go up in points. But they'll actually stick around on the table and do the nasty damage that they're supposed to do. I mean, they do it already, but they'll be more consistent at it. And finally, the last little bit of changes. Tyrant Guard, they're going to go back to a 2-up save because look at them, they're a wall of armor. 2-up save. I will put them down to 3 wounds because I think 4 wounds at a 2-up save and potential for feel no pain and all that is a bit oppressive. So 3 wounds a pop, 2-up save makes much more sense. Venom Thropes are going to stay the way they are. Von Ryan Leapers stay the way they are. And Zone Thropes are going to stay the way they are, with the fact that Zone Thropes can now be joined by a Neuro Tyrant to hopefully make their shooting a bit more reliable and really punchy. So that is all of the changes I have for the dash sheets. Let me know what you guys think of these changes. Are there ones you don't like, ones you really like? How would you change certain things that maybe I did differently? Let me know in the comments. This is not the last episode of this series. We've got, I think, 2 more. The next one, I am going to be adding a unit to the Tyranid Codex. One of my old favorites that have not been in the Codex for a while. We're going to make 10th edition rules for him, so stay tuned to that. And then I think a final video to send off this little series. It's going to be a battle report. I'll probably have Connor or Matt come play a game against me, and we are going to use these rules. Maybe. We're at least going to use the unit I create in the 3rd episode and just toss him in there. We'll see about using all of these rules, but we might do it. Who knows? We'll see how the state of how things are going and if we have time for it. But yeah, that's what I got. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.